Here's how I make $1,700 a month in cash flow through Airbnb and how it has led me to build a tiny home in my backyard.
This is gonna be the location of our tiny home.
4 years ago, we started renting out our basement for $975 a month, but our renter broke her lease and left us high and dry. A family friend who is a real estate investor was fixing our carpet and suggested we try Airbnb, even though he had not done it himself. So I looked it up and I was blown away. I found out that you can make more money with Airbnb than you can with just regular renting long term. As we set up our basement, I kept learning about Airbnb, and within 24 hours of our listing being active, we booked 58 out of 60 nights. We went from $975 a month in cash flow to $1,700 a month in cash flow. After a ton of research, I decided building a tiny home would give us the best return on our investment. The reason the return is so good is because they are so much easier to build and take care of than a regular home. I had tried to get my wife interested in adding a tiny home in our backyard for the longest time, but she was absolutely uninterested until this March. We took an anniversary trip to a peaceful and beautiful tiny home in Kernersville, North Carolina, that's located just outside of Winston-Salem. My wife saw how the homeowners still had their privacy, even though there was a tiny home on their land in the backyard. So she gave me the thumbs up and I took off. Before I continue any further in the video, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe and even tell your friends about how a normal couple went from being house poor to making $3,000 a month through real estate investing. Now back to the story. The first problem that we had to solve was the actual building itself. I'd already planned out the tiny home on paper, including the cost, and we had worked with an engineer to build and buy the blueprints. The estimated cost to build and furnish was about $75,000. At first, I had planned to build it myself, but when I asked a contractor for a quote to just pour the foundation, he offered to do the whole job. His price, when he gave me a quote a few days later, was only $10,000 more than what my estimate was, and so it made my decision pretty easy. To have someone do it professionally for an additional $10,000 was a no-brainer. So the next issue was the money. I knew I could get a personal loan from the bank, but unfortunately, after trying and applying, they would not give me enough, so I had to look for a different answer. We ended up getting a second mortgage on our home for about $72,000. When we have to use $9,000 of that to pay off an existing loan, so that means we're left with $63,000. Now, we've also saved up about $20,000 from our current Airbnb, and we're going to be using all of that in conjunction with the $63,000 to pay our contractor and to do the finishings and furnishings at the end of the build. Now, I have looked ahead and I am planning to come up between $5,000 and $10,000 short, but I am sure that we were going to find the money to make this work. We are truly trusting the Lord in this. We know that it might turn out fantastic, but it also might not work out. But either way, the Lord is always good, and his will be done in our lives, and we can rest and glory in that. So here we are today. We have the plans and the money to start the build. Here is a sneak peek into the next video where I'll show you the progress that we've had on the construction.
Well, this is it.
There's an excavator. And then next to the excavator, there's some stakes in the ground for where our tiny home is going to be.